Hi everyone, welcome back to those who have returned, and a warm hello to anybody who's just stumbled upon this video. It's nice to have you here. I am Memo and I'm a bit of a plant enthusiast, houseplant enthusiast slash geek slash bit of a sad loser really, but my kind of passion for the last couple of years has been getting back into houseplants. So I created this YouTube channel to share my experiences with some of these plants. I try to post every 2 to 3 times a week, and if you like what you see as a new content creator here, it really does help if you drop a like down below or subscribe as well if you want to see new videos as they come up. Obviously, as we all know by this point, and everybody else mentions this as well, hit the notification bell if you do want to see the videos as and when they come up. And as I mentioned, I will talk a bit more about the care and some tips and tricks that I have for some of the plants in my collection that I know aren't as easy to find on YouTube in terms of how other people care for them. And one of these plants is the one that I've got right in front of me. For the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll be able to see that it's a begonia. It's a Begonia Brevirimosa subspecies exotica. And this is indigenous to New Guinea, as far as I can tell, at least from my research online. And this is not a cultivated begonia, because a lot of begonias, especially the more ornate and showy begonias like this, tend to be cultivated species that tend to have been cultivated by humans over the last few years in order to have these showy leaves. But this actually occurs naturally in its habitat. So you can understand why a lot of people are keen to get their hands on this plant. This is not one of the easiest begonias to find, at least not in the UK and the EU as far as I'm aware. It took me a while for this to come up on eBay and for me to be able to snap it up. It's a relatively young plant still, but you can see the reason why everybody's kind of so excited about these plants is very large leaves. You can see the veination is a slightly darker black color, and as I've mentioned in my videos, I also do some videos on Instagram. The black usually that you see in terms of the darker leaved foliages for a lot of these plants is actually not black. It's a very, very, very dark green, which it helps the plant photosynthesize. And obviously you get these very, very bright pink coloration as well on the plant, which I'm assuming you can understand why people are so keen on this one as well, with so many people really getting into these plants that have got pink in them. So like the Philodendron Pink Princess, the Syngonian Pink Splash, and this is definitely one that does definitely deliver on the pink front. So as you can see with this plant, I've got it in a cache-pot, and that just means that I've got the nursery pot, or the pot that I'm growing it in, within this decorative pot that doesn't have any drainage holes, but this one does. And the reason for this is because I know that this plant can be quite tricky for a lot of people to grow. They grow it in terrariums. I've not had to do it in my situation. My plant room gets about 60 to 70% humidity, so I would just grow it out with all the rest of the plants, and it seems to be doing well so far. And I will caveat this to death essentially, because it's one of those things that I know from a lot of other people that the only way that they can grow this is in terrariums. So far I've had it for a few months. It seems to be doing all right. I will keep it in with the rest of my plants for as long as I possibly can, unless I start seeing that it's got some problems, and then I will put a cloche over it or something. And you can see what I've done is I've potted it into a clear plastic pot, because I want to be able to look at the roots to see if there's any kind of root damage or any root rot. And I can bring this up closer to the camera, and you can see the roots are very fine. And they're slowly filling up the pot as well. I know some people tend to have slightly more dense soil for begonias, but actually with all of my plants, even my begonias, I will have them in my light, airy aroid mix, and it just means that water drains them a bit faster. The other thing that I've started doing with a lot of my plants at the moment, whether or not they're aroids, begonias, anything like that, I will also add a layer of leca, so it's clay expanded pellets at the bottom. And then sit the soil on top of that as well, and it just helps with that drainage of the water, so at the bottom of the pot isn't always sitting in a layer of water. Now, in terms of light for this plant, you can see some of these newer leaves struggling in comparison to the older, more mature leaves that came with, and that was because I have this in medium light. I've now since moved it to a bright indirect light location, and it seems to be liking that a lot more, so I'll be keeping it there for now. And I'm trying to think what else on this one. As I mentioned, water it every 4 to 5 days and feed it every second or third watering, and it seems to be doing really, really well. In terms of pests, I've not really had many pest pressures on this as well. The one thing I will say, as with most begonias, there will be a tendency towards getting something like powdery mildew, which can really kind of hamper the growth of the plant, especially if you need to like deal with it and then potentially cut off some of those leaves. So the one thing I will always say is, if you're getting some of these more rarer plants, you probably are collecting it. You're probably not a first time plant buyer. You might be. If you are, the one thing you need to be aware of is you need to get some airflow going around the room. So if it's just regularly just sitting in a room and there's no kind of moving air around it, that will be something that will aggravate things like powdery mildew happening as well. So make sure that there's some kind of fan going around, or at least to get some air circulation going. Definitely not a plant that, when I say air circulation, I don't mean crack a window open in the middle of the winter and basically give this plant issues in terms of frost, but just keep the airflow circulation going. That's it, I think, on this little plant. If you've got experiences with this specific plant and you want to share them with everybody else, drop them in the comments down below. If you're thinking about buying one of these plants, or you've just recently bought one and you've got some questions, again, drop it in the comments down below and let's discuss. I hope you've enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching.